since I had always read a different version, I always found love. So when I read charity in the King James Version, I was a little confused. I'm like, well, charity? Not love? And then I really wanted to know, well, why charity? And I looked it up in the dictionary on Webster's. And it said that the definition of charity is the act of giving, or an organization that helps people, or the organizations that help people in need. And I'm like, okay. So it means to help, but why love? Well, how do you know if someone loves you? They help you, right? When you're in need, they care about you. When you got sunburns, they try to hug you. I love you all, and I do appreciate the love anyway. So I looked more into it, and it said that was the simple definition for it. Later it goes on to say it's a generosity and helpfulness towards the needy or suffering. It's relief for the needy. It's lenient judgment of others. And it went on to specifically say it's benevolent goodwill toward or love of humanity. So it goes on to say, even in the dictionary, that it is love. Even though I always thought of a charity as being like a goodwill or a food bank or something like that. And you have to consider, why do those people give that kind of food? Does it make them feel better to do that kind of thing? Why do they do it? And it makes me think, charity. Why not put just love? Love your fellow man. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, and these three, but the greatest of these is charity. Chapter 13 says, the greatest of these is charity. And since we believe that the King James Bible is the one true Bible, well, why is it so different in every other Bible? I hadn't really read another Bible that said charity instead of love. So if the King James Bible says charity instead of love, it must mean some more important word choice, right? You would think that. Well, charity is something that's given. It's something that you choose to do for someone else. When you give charity, you're giving hope to the need of someone else. Someone who's sick or poor, or someone who needs something. You're helping them. Well, if you love someone, you want to help them, right? If you love someone, when you see them suffering, you want to help them. Well, when we think of love, we usually think hearts, Valentine's Day, couples, stuff like that. I never really considered charity being the same thing as love. But I guess before I knew Jesus, I didn't really even know love. Because I thought love was simply saying, I love you. And being nice to someone every now and then. But charity is something that comes from the heart. It's the truest form of love. Because even though you say, I love you, I care about you, charity is more of an action word.
Amen.
It's like you put that love, that feeling, into action.
Yes.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I'm becoming a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. So I can say in the loudest voice I want to, or I can speak in the softest, most loving voice I can. But if it's not backed up with that action of charity, it means nothing.
That's right.
It's not important if I just say, I love you. I care about you. I want to help you. I want to take care of you. And that's all I do. I just tell you. But if I go and I give you a blanket when you are cold, or if I give you a fan if you're hot, if you're without clothes and I try to meet that need, if you are hungry and your stomach's growling and I meet that need, that is charity. And that is the love that this Bible is talking about.
Yes. Yes.
Because love with no action, is it really love?
No.
Or is it just words?
Yes. That's it.
Is that really the kind of love that Jesus had for us? Is that the love that you want to receive from somebody? No. When I'm sick, my mom loves me enough to give me medicine. She doesn't just go, "Oh, you poor baby," and then walk away. My mom loves me enough to try to seek out something that will help me. She loves me enough to hold me when I'm crying or I'm cold. And Jesus will do that for us too.
Yes.
He doesn't just look down on us from heaven and say, "All those poor people, I feel so bad for them." He doesn't do that. He came down here himself to give us that chance. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. I've been to some churches, and I don't want to speak bad about them, but this is a fact of life. Some churches will read from the Bible. Some church members will know the Bible back and forth. They'll know every word. They can tell you the verse in such and such book, and they can tell you what it means, and they can tell you the history of the Bible, and they can tell you everything they can about the Bible. They'll stand there and preach for hours to you. But do they really care about your soul? Do they care about where you're going? If my soul is struggling, I don't want someone to preach at me about the begots and the begots. I want them to preach about me that God has mercy too. I want them to have mercy on me by telling me that. I don't want them to just tell me the part about how we're all sinners and how we're all going to hell. I want them to tell me that there is a God who has enough mercy and that they're a merciful person enough to spread that news to me. That's what I want. I don't want them to tell me the entire history of the Bible. And though once we become Christians, we want to know about that kind of thing. And it's a good thing to know that. But if you don't have that charity and that act of love following that seeking pursuit of knowledge, then what's the point? If you just have a bunch of facts in your head, you don't put it into practice. You don't put that care, that love into practice. And yeah, you can know, oh yeah, God came down as a son and died for the world. You can know that in your head. I knew that in my head for most of my life. I knew that. Did I put it into practice? No. I knew it happened. But was it a movement in my heart? Did I love Jesus? Did I have charity towards the others around me enough to tell them about Jesus? No. I knew it happened. But no love was in me to move me into action. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profited me nothing. If you give people food and you give them blankets, but you just give it to them, and you don't truly care about that person, they know. They know. And that action means nothing to them. It's like, okay, I've got a blanket and I'm still cold because it feels like no one else in this world cares about me. Yes, my bodily needs are met. I'm dressed. I'm full. But I'm all alone. That's not charity. That's just giving someone a blanket. Or just giving them food. And that's a good thing, but if you don't have charity to back that up, you're not doing it out of love. You're doing it out of some pride that it's like, oh, I donate $50 a week to my local charity. Or you're in conversation with someone, it's like, I volunteer at the homeless shelter for 30 hours every month. Well, good for you. Do you love those people? Do you know their life story? Are you doing it to help them or making yourself feel better about it? And the Bible says to do your charity in silence. Anyway, because you're not doing it for notification. You're doing it because you care about those people. Because you love them. Because you want them to be clothed and full. And you want them to have a good life. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth it not itself, and is not puffed up, like the pride. If you are a truly kind person, doing it out of the love of your heart, with charity, you don't brag, you don't have that pride about you. If you do tell people about it, it's because you're trying to get them in and help too. And again, these things are not bad things to do. But you shouldn't do it because of pride or vanity. And it suffereth long and is kind. When I read that, I imagine Jesus suffering and still having that kindness in his dying moments to have compassion to the man on the cross next to him. Even when he suffers, even when we suffer, we must be kind because charity moves us to be kind. And we can't lose that charity, that love. Doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth. It beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, and endureth all things. Charity is not something fragile, and it's not a feeling. Love is not a feeling, because love is a choice. When we choose to have charity and to have that love, it may not always be easy, but it's that choice to rejoice in the good and want to share that good. It's not thinking about the evil things, like how we could benefit from it. It's thinking all those good things about charity. That kindness, that compassion, that truthfulness, that hope. And that's the charity that I want to put in motion every day of my life. Charity never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. Things like prophecies, they can fail. Knowledge will fail you. But charity, it is different in these things. Our languages, our knowledge, those facts and numbers that we seem to treasure so much, those things will go away. Our languages will no longer exist. Even now there are dead languages, languages that are no longer spoken. But has charity failed through the years? I don't think so. When I see my God in my heart, I see him as it being a constant point of charity, a constant point of love. That doesn't fail. The things that we make and things we do may fail, but God's charity doesn't fail. And if we hold God's charity in our heart, that won't fail. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When Jesus comes, we won't need all that. Jesus is perfect. We won't need our prophecies, and we won't need our languages, and we won't need this knowledge. We just need God's charity, Jesus' charity. When he comes back, we won't need that other stuff. But if we keep that charity and we gain it now, we'll be able to greet him with that charity that he's graced us with. what I want. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away these childish things. When I was a child, I thought love was just someone saying, I love you. I thought it was Valentine's Day and those little hearts and the little candies. And it was that kid that held my hand during recess. That was love. That was true love. But that wasn't love. It may have been cute, and they may be fun to have Valentine's Days every now and then, but that's not charity, and that's not love. Even now, as I'm growing up, I still feel like a child in my understandings of some things. But I like to understand things, so I pursue it. And that's just me gaining knowledge. And as we said before, knowledge fails us. But through God's charity and His grace towards me, I understand things more. And that's what I want to get out, that through God, this charity, this love, it's one and the same. You can't have charity without love, because charity is love. In the other Bibles, it just says love, but it doesn't really help you understand it so much when you think of it as charity. Because like I said, charity is an action. And you put that love into action. It's not just a word on a page. Charity it's movement. It's putting that love that God had for us into action through us. And the last verse always gets me. And now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three. But the greatest of these is charity. When I first became a Christian, it was God's love that brought me to having faith, to having hope. It was that charity, first and foremost. Because before that, I didn't have hope. And my faith was as fragile as a little glass doll, if I had any at all. It's that charity that always pulls us to God. It's that charity that brought me to this church. Because I believe that you can always feel God's love through His true people. If someone truly loves God, you can always feel that. Because they will love you. And that's why I always want to keep that charity in my heart. Because as long as I have that charity, that love, I am one of God's children. And I never want to treat anyone with anything less than charity. Because I know that is the greatest gift God has ever given me. So please, keep that charity in your heart. Because it is the greatest. It saves people in so many ways. It saves lives. It saves families. It saves souls. I just want to close in prayer and thank God for the grace and the charity that He has given me and that He has given all of us. And if we just reach out for that charity, we can have that hope, that love, and that faith